What are some of the best tips that you have right now for the little guy who wants to get into the room with people like you guys?
When you guys first started networking per se, were y'all a little bit scared to do it since you're an introvert?
Being an introvert, it makes things difficult. However, you're just one connection away from completely changing your life.
You guys break down what imposter syndrome means.
When you do something that is your purpose and you make it look easy, then you start to feel like an imposter when they call you an expert. 100% anybody who's doing anything big is going to deal with imposter syndrome.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Millionaire in the Making podcast. My name is Gage.
Justin.
And we have a very special episode for you guys today, our first ever multi-guest podcast. So hopefully you guys like this one. If you do, go ahead and drop a like just to help us out. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to kick to Justin to introduce today's guest.
Okay, we have Kevin again, and then we have Brent. And there's a really special reason why I wanted to connect these guys tonight. These guys are very, very heavy hitters around here. And I really want to emphasize the power of networking, okay? This is something that everybody can do. You should be doing this once or twice a week, just playing connect the dots to people that are like-minded and want to grow together. And I picked these two first because they're very similar. They have very different businesses, but they have a very positive growth mentality. For anybody who hasn't seen this, Kevin, give us a quick 1 to 2 minute just elevator pitch on who you are.
Sure. So live in Bay Minette. I've been married 10 years. Have a small farm, a rental property. Been in business now 15 years full time. Didn't start out that way. Was actually in construction and a college student, which ended up quitting my job after 7 months of being self-employed. A little too fast, but I was excited, right? I wanted freedom. So I started a business 15 years ago, went full time in 7 months. I quit construction, changed my degree from architecture to business, dropped out of school, and just went haywire with personal and professional development and networking like what you talked about, and found some mentors that really taught me there was a whole nother world out there and a whole nother realm of possibility that I believed was possible, but I didn't believe it was possible for me until I found the right people, found the right books, found the right information, and then I thought, man, I can do this. And over the last 15 years, built multiple different companies, sold one company for multiple 7 figures, which is awesome. Started an organization to help kids with neurodevelopment issues, autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, you name it, called the American Autism Rehabilitation Center. We started a foundation to raise money for children with special needs called the American Autism and Rehabilitation Foundation. And then throughout 15 years, I've done a lot of public speaking, coaching, and consulting through a company called Strategic Life Design. So I've been blessed and fortunate to speak at the same conferences along stage of individuals like Les Brown, Jack Canfield, you name it.
You got one that I'm really jealous of.
Damon John from Shark Tank.
You got the Grant Cardone one.
Grant Cardone at the Grand Ole Opry of all places, which
wow.
was crazy. Yeah. So did a lot of public speaking. Have a crypto consulting and DeFi agency. We help clients navigate the decentralized finance space, and we have a trading desk, which is a lot of fun. Have one rental property, which is very small considering my peers here, which are the real estate experts. Definitely not me. I'm a little minnow here in a big pond, but that's me. I'm passionate about ministry, marriage, health, business, helping people, just full of life for sure.
So that's what Kevin does. Okay, most people got one job. Kevin's got like 8 going on right now.
Too many, to be honest.
Next one we have is Brent. Brent, give us a 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch on what all you do.
So a little bit about me. I grew up in southern Mississippi, small hometown. Traveled to Chicago at 19, tried to work for a record label, got my name out there, started promoting shows. That led to experiential marketing. So I went to all the major events, sporting events, music festivals for like 10 plus years for major brands, doing some big activations, and saw real estate as an opportunity to get off the road and kind of define my own future, own my own time. Jumped into it and went real quickly, like the first year I did over $200,000. I was like, okay, this is a good process. Let's just focus on this. So spent about 5-6 years learning real estate, really diving deep, getting around a lot of mentors, getting in a lot of mastermind rooms, and just really diving into it and figuring out, okay, how can I learn all these skill sets really quickly and apply this into my life and my business. Did that for last 5 years. I've kind of backed off of like the whole real estate operation, and I'm focusing more on AI and the future of data and marketing. So,
heck yeah, that's 2 awesome backgrounds. And before we get any further into this, if you guys do want to hear more about both of them. They're on the channel. So just scroll down a little bit. You'll find both. But yeah, I'll pass it back to Justin. Let him drive the boat.
We'll put
on
their
this one.
links.
Yeah, we
down
can do
below,
that
too.
We'll drop the links.
100%. Yeah, that's a mouthful. So notice how many different things they're doing at one time. They're very diversified. You don't have all your eggs in one basket. The power of multiple sources of income. But that's not the theme of this podcast right now. Right now, it's going to be networking. What are some of the best tips that you have right now for the little guy who wants to get into the room with people like you guys?
Well, first thing I want to say is just piggybacking off of what you just said. So I one of my core things that I'd really like to accomplish is to trim it down to 2 businesses. And I want to focus on 100 streams of income.
Okay.
So that's very different. If you'd have told me that years ago, I would have equated a business to a stream of income. But what I'm talking about is streamlining your focus to 1, maybe 2 businesses, tops, and then other streams of income. Because like my Airbnb stuff, I don't consider that a business.
Right.
So that's one comment. But as far as networking, one of the biggest things I can tell you is that everybody you know knows somebody you need to know. And having that philosophy, and on top of the fact that everybody you meet is a rock that you should not leave unturned. There can be gold underneath any conversation. Somebody who has 1/100th of the experience, if you keep your ears closed, you can miss something that they say that may give you an idea that can lead to something where you can profit from. So, you want to network as often as you can. And even if you're an introvert, a lot of people don't realize, since I've done, over 600 keynote presentations to audiences of over 14,000 people assume that I'm an extrovert. I'm very much an introvert. Very much. I could talk more about that.
Fellow introvert.
Yeah. So, but I network on purpose. Because I believe that everybody has something that can help me, and I want to help as many people as possible, but everybody knows somebody that I need to know. And so be intentional. Like you talked about earlier, like who can you take to lunch? Who can you take to coffee? What events are in the marketplace? What's the Chamber of Commerce doing? What are people that you look up to and respect? Where are they going to be? How do you get in close proximity? Maybe look at their social pages and figure out where they're going to be. I mean, you can even look on Facebook and you can tell which of your contacts are interested in attending an event. And if that's somebody you want to get to know, show up. And then the next thing is just ask where you can help somebody. Like if I have somebody that I want to learn from, like there's so much I can learn from Brent. Like I listen to his podcast, which by the way, if you haven't done that, I encourage you to go back and listen to his first podcast here, and Millionaire in the Making. It was amazing. But, just like my real estate experience, prime example, I've got 1 rental property. He had, how many wholesale deals did you do?
We were doing over 100 a year.
Over 100 a year.
Yeah.
So
It's sickening.
there are a few things I can learn, right, from this gentleman. And so it's cool for me to be in this room because we're going to get to know each other, and there's no telling what we'll do in the future. That's just how it works.
Exactly. Okay. Do you have any comments for that?
How do I follow that?
Oh, man.
No, I mean, I think, especially he hit the nail on the head there with, being an introvert. It makes things difficult. However, you're just one connection away from completely changing your life, or completely having a new opportunity that you didn't see coming. So make it a point to, like you said, go to networking events, go to other events that people that you are interested in meeting and talking to. I mean, I had lunch with Chris Isabel. We talked about him today. We've been talking for probably actually, at the very beginning, I led with intent before I moved here. I went on the group that I now own, What's Happening in Gulf Shores, and I posted a long thing about how I want to meet business owners in the area and how I want to do podcasts with business owners in the area. This is my background. This is who I am. This is what I do. Me and my wife want to become familiar faces in the community. We want to help any way we can. And that post generated a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention. I created a forum, and in that forum, for anybody that was interested in being on the podcast, all they had to do was go and fill it out, and we would be in touch whenever we got everything set up. I never followed through with doing the podcast, again, because partner was going back and forth in school, and we finally today had lunch for the first time. But I just, occasionally drop in his ear. What happened was, though, I started creating a little bit of a awareness for who I was in the area. And he happened to jump to my page, my Facebook page. And he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I don't know you. I don't know how we're connected because we were already friends on Facebook." He said, "But I really like I like to see the hustle that you've got. He said, I really like smart people. I like to be around people like yourself. If you ever want to grab lunch or something, let me know. Or if I can ever help you in any way, let me know. So we've just been kind of going back and forth, just chatting here and there, trying to make that perfect time. And today happened to be that opportunity. Now, whether or not it actually turns into anything mutually beneficial as far as monetarily, maybe not. But I can learn a lot from that guy about mergers and acquisitions, just like he could probably learn a lot about social media and marketing and other aspects of real estate just from that one contact, that one connection, right? He may know somebody that can help me with a lending situation that I need to purchase a business or a real estate deal, whatever. You just never know who you're going to be. I always tell everyone to use, I call it the 3-foot rule, even as an introvert. Make it a point. If anyone's in your bubble within 3 feet of you, 6 feet during COVID, if anyone's in your bubble within 3 feet of you for more than a minute, you need to make it a point to just, hey, ask them how their day's going, ask them where they're from, what their name is. Like, try to find that 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, because I promise you it'll happen a lot more often if you just use that as your intro. Like, hey, where are you from? Oh, do you know so-and-so? What? 'Cause chances are, especially around here, everyone knows everybody, and you're only like one connection away from everybody here.
Right.
So that's just some of my advice is like try to get out of that comfort zone. Use your 3-foot rule. If they're in that bubble, make it a point to say hello. I've literally I've literally bought a deal, a real estate deal from talking to somebody at a gas pump.
So staying here on the intro side of things, we have a lot of young bucks who have no idea how to even start that conversation. Do you just walk up, hey, nice to meet you, I'm so-and-so, this is what I do? How do you formulate that conversation?
All right, so say you're in a, like I said, gas pump. They're standing right across from you. They're filling up their car. Most people are just like, I don't want to make eye contact with this person, at least if you're an introvert. Like, I don't want to talk to this person. Like, just put my head down. Don't say hi to me, right? Or a grocery store line, right? Somebody's right behind you. They're sitting there. Just introduce yourself. Hey, how you doing? Like, hey, how you doing? They find a way to compliment at the very beginning. Like if it's a woman, like say something about, I like your outfit or something like that. Or like, your kid's really cute or whatever. Just don't do it creepily. But just find a way to make small talk. And as introverts, small talk is like the hardest thing. You get us wound up on something we're passionate about, we'll go all day. We'll talk for 10 hours. You won't be able to shut us up. But it's that making that introduction at the very beginning. Again, you'll never know what will come out of that conversation. You'll never know who they know that you may know. And that's when you have the opportunity, if you're there for more than a minute, you have the opportunity to let them know, hey, this is what I do. If you know of anybody that's buying or selling a house, please have them give me a call. Like, I'd love to help in any way. Even if I can't, solve their problem, I'll at least point them in the right direction. That's what I do. I'm a helper, not a haggler.
Okay, so going back to the beginning, when you guys first started networking per se, were y'all a little bit scared to do it since you're introverts?
Oh, heck yeah. I was terrified.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd never done anything like that before in my life. I mean, coming from a construction background, I don't have to communicate with anybody. I show up on the job site, work hard, show up early, great attitude, try to learn the business, try to be the, just the most ambitious guy on the construction crew. That's how I, became in a leadership position at a very young age in construction. But I didn't have to lead anybody. I didn't have to talk to customers. I didn't have to do anything. And all of a sudden, here I am with my new business. I'm 20 years old. So right now I'm 35. I look like I'm probably in my 20s. You can imagine what I looked like when I was 20. I looked like I was 12. Like, no one was going to take me serious. That's what my self-talk was saying. So, like, how do you talk to somebody, especially about business, when you're a 20-year-old broke construction worker? I mean, I was intimidated. I was freaked out. But here's the thing. The position I was in was so uncomfortable that I was willing to do whatever it took to get to the other side. So I might be trembling if I saw, literally shaking, if I saw somebody I wanted to talk to, and I would talk to them anyway. My voice may even crack. But I was so miserable doing construction, and the path that I had chosen terrified me. I was like, I don't want to be... Like, I remember we celebrated the birthday of one of the guys on the construction crew. He was 71 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
He drove a truck that was probably worth $300.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is a pretty clear picture of where I'm headed, man. You know what I mean? Great guy. But I was like, I didn't want to work out there in the elements every single day. So I was willing to do whatever it took. So what's your, the pain of where you're at has to be more unbearable than the fear you feel of talking to somebody you're scared to talk to. And when you do talk to them, your confidence level is going to go up. And the next time you approach somebody, it's a little bit easier and better.
That was my next question, confidence. How did you gain that confidence? Just repetition?
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. My story was a little bit different. I was basically forced into it, into in the event marketing space, a lot of times we would have stages and we'd have to get people out in the audience to participate in like little giveaways or whatever. So we'd have to have a microphone and get out there. I always tried to shy away from it. And then I had one guy on the same program as me was like, dude, just do it. Like, people will love it. You got the Southern accent. Like, just get out there and do it. And I just started doing it, and like I just started having more fun with it. And over time, I started figuring out ways to incorporate games and make it like fun for me. And it just got easier and easier and easier. But even like still today, it's like I have a lot harder time than my wife, who, if you're in the room with her for more than a minute, everyone in that room is going to know she's an attorney, 100%. To the point to where we went to mastermind meetings together, and we always played a little game called like Mastermind Bingo. And in those squares is like certain things. One of those squares says, if CC mentions she's an attorney. That was because everyone there knows she's an attorney. But you know what? As much as it's kind of like a poke at her, like that's exactly why her business is where it's at. It's because you're not gonna be around her without knowing that what she is and who she is, what she does, and how she can help you.
And I think what's important with that is to recognize, Gage, that there are people like her who is she an extrovert?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure, like, if you're listening to this and you're an introvert and you're like, oh, well, that's just not my personality, you can get a new one.
Yeah. Tomorrow, today, right now.
You can get a new one through doing these things, because like now me meeting people is not a big deal.
Right.
That's because I've been doing it 15 years. Okay. I'm not very good at skateboarding, but if I rode a skateboard every day for 15 years, I'd be a pretty dang good skateboarder. Right? Just through repetition. So, fall in love with doing hard things. The things that scare you are typically the next stepping stone to where you ultimately want to be. And we can't just sit there and avoid the things that make us uncomfortable unless we're okay being stuck where we are.
Yeah. And that's fine. If you're happy where you're at, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I want to make sure everyone keeps that, understands that, because a lot of us talk about hustle and getting out there and doing this and that. Like, not everybody wants that, and that's okay. Like, not everybody, if you're comfortable where you're at and you're happy where you're at, I don't think a lot of people are. But if that's where you're at, then by all means, like, stay. I'm happy for you, right? Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Everyone's, there's got to be workers, and work is noble, right? But if you're anything like me and you look, that was the switch for me, is just like you. Like, I saw what the older people in my business and my career were doing and where they were at in their life. I'm like, I kind of want a little more. How do I get there, right? And you just start asking questions, and you get there by a lot of self-development, a lot of reading, a lot of being in rooms with people that are doing things that you want to do. And sometimes you pay to be in those rooms. Sometimes you get lucky and you meet them at an event or whatever. The best thing about going to seminars is not the actual seminars. I hate going to seminars and listening to people speak on stage. I absolutely hate it. What I do like is all the people that are there that I get to meet and I get to talk to outside of the event. I'm usually hanging out in the hallways, just meeting people as much as possible, just talking. Because again, it's the one opportunity where I'm in a room with people who are interested in the same things that I'm interested in. So I just want to talk all day, because I don't get that opportunity everywhere I go.
Okay. A bit of a side question, just totally side question, because both of you guys said you spoke on stage before.
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy a few weeks back. He had a speaking engagement, and he was just talking to me about it, because he's a very introverted guy as well. And he said he was trembling so hard on the inside, like freaking out. And I was watching it on the webinar, and you can't tell. Is that hold true? Like, when you're on stage, you're kind of like freaking out on the inside, fluttery, and no one else can tell?
Especially at the beginning. Especially leading up, like when they're about to make the introduction, that's when the butterflies hit the hardest, for me.
Yeah.
And I've trained a lot of speakers. Most of them say the same thing. That's when but when you get on stage, the first 60 seconds, you'll have an inner freak out for a little bit. But if you're competent on what you're talking about, that will subside.
Yeah.
And then you get your mojo.
Yeah.
The biggest part for new speakers to understand when they go on stage is that is normal for 60 seconds, and remind yourself that this is going away. Like, I got this. Because if you feel that freak out and you think that that's going to be your whole talk, you can freak yourself out the entire time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's natural for it to happen at the beginning. And here's the thing. I mean, one of my great friends, James Malinchak from ABC's hit TV show, The Secret Millionaire, probably one of the highest paid, in my opinion, the best speaker coach on the planet on the business of speaking. Not how to be a polished speaker, but how to make money speaking. I don't know how many keynote talks he's done. I mean, all over the world. And he said he still gets nervous before every audience because it's a new audience. Maybe the same content he's done many times before. So he knows the content. He's competent. But it's a brand new audience he hasn't addressed before. So he feels butterflies before everyone.
I'll tell on myself a little bit. Like the first time I came over here, like the first probably 10 minutes, I was a little nervous before we got on just sitting down there because I was like, I don't know what these guys really want from me. Like, because it's been a while since I've done a podcast. I mean, as far as in person, anyways, I've done several via Zoom, but like it'd been a while. I'm like, maybe I still got it. I don't know. Like, sometimes it's that self doubt and that limiting belief. It was like, do I really? Because everyone's starting to call me an AI expert, and it's like, well, okay, I have been paying attention for a very long time, but for me to call myself an expert, it's like I'm too humble for that. If that makes any sense. So it's like it's almost kind of like, oh shit, like what if I say something that's wrong, and it's it was 137 or it was 175 billion parameters and not 135, and I've screwed that up, like right, like those little things like that, like those things kill me inside. Because I want to make sure, it's a little bit of my dad too, because my dad was a perfectionist. So like knowing that I know that I know that I know that I know has always been like right here at the core of who I am. So that's why like at the very beginning, I'm a little bit nervous when I meet people. But like as soon as we get to talking about things that I'm comfortable talking about and you get it out of me, we'll talk all day.
And he introduced me to ChatGPT like 2 months ago. And I didn't see him for like 3 days, and I spent up for like I was up for like 3 days straight, just going down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if I got any questions, I'm calling you. If I can't Google it myself first, let me repeat that. Do not waste somebody's time if you can get on Google and ask the same exact question. But if I got something that's outside the scopes of Google, you're the first one that I call. Compliment. I'm giving you props for that.
I appreciate it.
I mean, I totally resonate with that because like essentially I don't know what you would call it, what this emotion is, but I feel the same. Like on this podcast, I'm the young buck. I haven't really done shit in life, and when I speak on stuff, I feel like an imposter half the time because like I'm speaking on stuff that like the audience, they don't know who I am. I'm just some young kid. Like who am I to them? So it's the same exact feeling every single time I get butterflies when I start speaking about something. Like, damn, why am I speaking about this? Or what or why do they think I'm speaking about this? It's just a super weird dilemma.
I mean, more people probably know who you are than all of us put together as far as numbers go.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's a big world. And there's one kid out there who's like, who's this kid? And it shouldn't bother me, but it still does sometimes.
I mean, I would say, don't you have like 200-something thousand TikTok?
How many views have you gotten in like the past 3 years? 100+ million?
Yeah, but you gotta understand it's bigger than that. Okay, I can walk in anywhere, no one's gonna know who I am. It's not to that scale yet. But you get what I'm saying, right?
Well, look, I admire your humility, but you said a key word that I want to hone in on for a second. That's imposter syndrome. 100% of anybody who's doing anything big is going to deal with imposter syndrome.
Yes.
The only caveat is somebody who is so arrogant and egotistical that they think that they walk on water.
Yeah.
And those people are irrelevant because they have bigger problems.
Nailed it.
But everybody else is going to deal with imposter syndrome 100% of the time. And one of the biggest reasons for that is your area of giftedness and competency, okay, which are two different things, but you can make them one. Your giftedness and where you have the biggest purpose in life is where you feel like when you give a halfway effort, everybody else makes you feel like you make it look easy, because that's your area of giftedness. That's your area of expertise. That's what your purpose is, right? When you do something that is your purpose and you make it look easy, and the rest of the world thinks that it's amazing, but you feel like it's no big deal, then you start to feel like an imposter when they call you an expert.
Right.
Because you're like, well, who am I to be an expert? Like, what makes me the expert? Like, this isn't that difficult. It's your area of giftedness. So everybody's going to deal with that. Everybody.
Yeah.
That's interesting stuff. You don't hear many people touch on that at all.
No, because nobody wants to talk about it like feeling like a failure or an imposter, or no one wants to talk about that. Like, no one wants to share those parts of their lives. It's the internet world, man. Like, everything's good and gravy and perfect. And that's why I really liked about what you do, was sharing like your wins and your losses every single day, right? And this is how much I made, this is how much I lost. That's transparent. Now, it's not like necessarily a breakdown of every single little thing, and it doesn't need to be, right? But like just being able to show like, hey, I'm grinding, I'm out here hustling, I'm keeping my head down, I'm putting this out there, hopefully it'll inspire you.
Yeah.
And that is in and of itself is pretty remarkable that you're willing to do that, because not most people are too scared to even put themselves out there in the first place. Just in general, just to even put their face on video and put it on the internet, that terrifies people. But the fact that you see it and you've already started to like realize some fruits to your labor, right?
Vulnerability, vulnerability, I think is huge.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
but a lot of people don't do that online, like what Brent was talking about at all. And, you know, I've been coaching people for over a decade, and I can tell you some icons, people I look up to who've accomplished a ton. When you get one-on-one with them and talk to them about what they're dealing with, they deal with imposter syndrome.
That's deep.
Can you guys break down what imposter syndrome means to the people who don't know?
Well, a good example is like what Brent was talking about, like, you know, to be called the expert in his field. And to me, it's everybody in this room and probably most people who ever listen to this podcast, he very much is the expert on that topic. But to him, he doesn't feel that way necessarily, even though that's an area he's very competent and educated and experienced in. And whenever you're touted as some expert, some guru, somebody who's more advanced than other people, then your self-doubt starts to creep in, and things creep into where you're like, well, who am I to be that? Who am I to be called that? What if I let people down? What if I disappoint somebody? What if I say something that's not true? What if? It's a bunch of fears, it's a bunch of doubt, it's a bunch of insecurity. But the important thing is to understand that, again, that is actually normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually normal.
If you don't, it's kind of considered narcissism, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You got it.
I mean, you over here, you're doubting yourself. For the first month or two of us hanging out, I followed you around with a pen and a paper saying, why is he posting this? How is he posting this? What's his intentions behind posting this? He's doing something that's working. I am not, so I need to model what I'm doing after that. Same way with Kevin. I was like, I followed him around for a little bit saying, he's one of the best networkers that I know. So I was like, why is he doing this? How is he doing this? What's his mindset behind doing this? Same thing with him over here with AI. You're doing something right now that I am dreaming of, developing your own AI company. So I'm like over here like, why is he doing this? How is he doing this? What is his method behind doing this?
And I'm over here
Everything.
going like, man, if you only knew like what it's the what it took to get to where it is now, and like how much work and headache and stress and everything else, like
Could imagine.
it's yeah. I mean, that's why I was like, yeah, I'm not really that excited about it. Like, I know I can pull it off and I can do it, but it's not my big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, it could probably make me a millionaire with the software, just the software alone, very easily. Okay, and that's cool. But like, once you get to, again, we talked about this last time. Once you get to a certain level of income, like money doesn't necessarily make you any more happy.
Right.
Right. Like, especially if you come from where I come from and like you're used to not really having that much. And granted, my parents worked hard and gave me everything that I ever needed. Certainly a lot of people started rougher shape than I did, but like, I'm very comfortable. I literally could stop working right now. Only reason I do it is because I do what I enjoy. My wife makes enough money to support us and probably 10 other families, which is another topic that I would like to talk about. That the egos that I see a lot of times on social media. I'm sorry, we just flipped the script 100%.
Keep going. I like it.
No, I mean, I'm really tired of like the alpha bro mentality of like lions, not sheep, even though that guy's selling it as U.S. merchandise and it's made in China. He got popped for that.
Right.
I'm really tired of that. There's another guy I got blocked the other day because I called him out on some crap, but I don't do that very often. But like every now and like you pop up enough times, I'm like, okay, like I'm finally done. And he was talking about how women shouldn't make more than their husbands and all this other stuff. Like, dude, I'm pretty sure my wife makes more than you and I combined. So I would simmer down. Like, nobody knows who you are. Just shut up. But he uses a lot of religion behind it as well. It's like, it just really just annoys me whenever that happens. Like, bro, that's not what you need to do. But yeah, I'm really tired of the alpha bros on the internet talking about, you know, be a man, lead, follow, get out of the way. Like, you know what I do? I do the George Carlin. I obstruct. That's just the type of person I am. I was always that kid. Like, you tell me the quickest way to get me to do something is tell me not to do something. I was very inquisitive. I questioned everything. I made my mother's life probably a living hell, but that's just who I was.
You know, Roosevelt had a ton of different health challenges. He was riddled with health problems. And when he was going through so many issues, he literally just stopped everything that he was doing and went out west and became a cowboy, like literally. And at one point, he had walked 40 miles without something to eat, and was just doing these crazy things. And because of his health issues, like, I don't know if he saw a cardiovascular expert or what, but whatever kind of doctor they saw, they said, your heart can't handle this. Like, you need to slow down. And his response was no. And it just reminds me of the defiance.
Yeah.
Right? It reminds me of just how defiant he was in life, which made him have so much inner resilience. And when you're immature, like for me years ago, like I had so much outer defiance. You could feel it. It was just kind of like one of those alpha male dudes, like what you're talking about, where it was like, you know, my ways are higher than other people's, and just this ego and arrogance about it. And that same like push against resistance, you internalize whenever you mature, and it becomes resilience. So outside, like you don't have to have so much beef with your external forces as you do inside. You have inner defiance, which is called resilience. And I think the more that you actually do hard things, whether that be meeting people, networking, going to events, starting a business, failing at something, getting butterflies, getting up, doing it again, failing at something, going after it, starting something new, you start to develop that inner resilience, again, which is defiance internalized.
That's good stuff. And a lot of times I feel like when people do start to try and do hard things, they have those self-doubts. I'd like to ask all three of you, if you're down, Justin, what are the things you tell yourself in your brain to get over that self-doubt? Like, do you have a saying that you tell yourself every day? Is there a quote that you really like to recite? Is there something in your brain that just clicks every time your brain's going against you? Like, floor is yours.
I guess we'll go clockwise here. So when I have that self-doubt, I've done business a different way. I'm not afraid of failure, but I take that to the extreme. I mean, you see, I put out 175 something videos last month. I'm okay with taking a couple of L's, a couple of people trash talking me. In real estate, I made my come up because I would lock myself in a room and say, I'm going to call 100 people and I'm not getting up. And at the end of that, I would just keep going. There was a day where it was like 500 plus phone calls with a triple line dialer. I was there for like 9+ hours just dialing. Once I get my rate where I'm like, okay, I got to fail 100 times and I'm going to get one yes. Self-doubt doesn't matter to me because it's like, okay, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
How many times do I got to fail to win? If I told you right now, you are 20 steps away from becoming a millionaire, or 25 steps, or 30 steps, I don't know which one it's going to be for you, that would make you want to get up and just work harder and work faster and keep trying, right? So I view it as, okay, my next level could be $10 million, but I got to make 500 tries, 400 tries, 300 tries. Doubt doesn't even matter. I know I'm going to fail. Like, telling me to give up is a totally different story, though. Failure and quitting is just two different realms in my world.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. But I will work until I'm almost redlined. So if you are Bradley Flowers, he had this quote one time. He asked Gary Vee, what was better, to be the early bird? Does the early bird get the worm, or does the more talented bird get the worm? And he just said, if you know your wings are short, just wake up earlier and flap them harder. So I might not be the most talented guy, but I'm gonna try to outwork you.
Fair enough. I like that.
Okay.
Swing it around.
Let's do Kevin.
So for me, you asked, like, is there a phrase? Like, do you tell yourself? And yeah, I'll affirm whatever it is that I'm about to do, and I affirm it by saying, that's just who I am.
Ooh, I like that.
That's just who I am. So if I'm about to go do something and I'm scared, or I have fear, or maybe I've failed at it before, that's just who I am. Man, I'm going to go do this thing because that's just who I am. That's just who I am. That's just who I am. And I affirm that. So that would be the phrase. But then to comment on what you were talking about, you know, when I first got started in business, I thought that when you're on this trajectory towards trying to get to success, right, which we all can define that different ways, as we know. But if this is success over here and I'm right here, I always thought failure was here. So I'm running away from it, trying to get to success, when actually the failure is right here.
Yep.
You have to go through it to get to success. And when you know it's part of the formula, you don't worry about it so much anymore. You don't worry if someone tells you no. You're one step closer to the next yes.
Some 3 feet from gold there.
You got it. Absolutely.
Trend. Pretty much the same answer.
Oh, I thought you called him Trent. I was like, that's not his name.
Brent. No, Trent is in like Trent is a like.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear the same thing.
Commonalities. Yeah.
You're gonna hear the same thing every podcast. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but almost every single guest we bring on here says almost the exact same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like that. That's just who I am. That's gonna stick with me.
Yeah, that's a good one. My wife and I do affirmations every morning in the shower, and it's a lot of I don't chase, I attract, and I get paid to exist. But there's a lot of the funny one was I was laying in bed one night and I was talking about the social media company I'm building, and I was like, what's going to happen if I always say if, and she always smacks me across the head. She says, when?
Ooh.
I said, okay. She literally will smack me across the forehead. When? I said, when we raise $10 million and we need to move to New York or whatever to assemble a real team. And she's like, dude, Mark Zuckerberg's the great value brand Brent Marino. And I was like, you really believe that, don't you? Having somebody else that can push you and actually believe in you in that way, because she really does believe that. I was like, well, if she believes it, why the hell shouldn't I believe it, right? Who's Mark Zuckerberg? Like, he was just some kid. He was a college dropout from Harvard who stole somebody else's idea. I'm pretty sure I can accomplish just as much, right? What makes him any more special than me? It's all a mentality at the end of the day. Now, granted, I may or may not ever accomplish what he's accomplished, and that's okay with me, because my version of success is not necessarily his wealth or what he's accomplished, but more so what I'm doing to make the world a better place. That's it.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate y'all's answer, guys. But I want to touch on one more thing. Both of you guys said you do affirmations. What is affirmation? Is that just telling yourself subconsciously something to stick in your brain?
I say it out loud. Me and my wife repeat it back and forth. I'm not sure how you do it, but that's how I literally will say it out loud.
And it's just to subconsciously program your brain that that's the truth, that's the truth, that's the truth.
Yeah.
It's typically something that's in future that you state in a today tense.
Yeah.
And I am, so.
I am financially free. I am I do not have any bad debt, like things like that. That
Absolutely.
way, as you're going throughout the day, like you're going to think about those things as you say them over and over and over. It sounds crazy, especially to a lot of younger people and to a lot of older people, but like it truly is 100% a mental game. One of the very first things that we had students do when we had our coaching program was like we had them literally write out, hand to paper, their perfect day. Describe what your perfect day looks like, because you'd be surprised at how many people, and then also define what your why is. What's your biggest why? Define it all the way 7 layers deep. Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why is that important? Right? And get really granular with like what you want and why you want it. And you'll start to figure out there's really not that very many things that are really that important. Right? And writing out your perfect day really takes a lot more focus when you really think about it. Like, what does my perfect day look like 10 years from now or 20 years from now when I've accomplished all the things that I want to accomplish and the income level is where I want it to be and the family is here and there or whatever. Like, what does that day look like from the moment your toes hit the floor or to when you wake up in the morning till you lay your head down at night? What does that day look like? What's that perfect day look like? And you'll be surprised what actually happens when people actually take the time to write out a page or two of what an actual perfect day is.
And you should feel emotion when you write that out, like when you read it. Like, it shouldn't be just factual. You should be able to, it should appeal to your senses.
Yeah.
Like 10 years from now, I'm 45. I wake up at certain time in the morning. The sun's coming through the window. What do the windows look like? What kind of a room
view.
am I at so I can see it? What's the temperature? Is it cool in the morning? And what kind of, am I making tea in the morning or making coffee? What kind? What's it smell like? Like, to make it so real, you can taste it and touch it. Mm-hmm. And that visualization process, there's just something miraculous about it. There's something miraculous about, and then that's visualization, but that goes along with affirmations, right? It's basically the same thing. Your affirmations are just the statement of a future thing that you want, a future idea that you have in the present tense, and stating that with emotion and boldly. And if you can do it out loud, that's even better.
Okay, so would you urge everybody to do that? Like, Justin opened my eyes up to it. He was like, hey, you need to get a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. Like, the second I met him, he's like, hey, what do you have? It's like, I don't have shit. He's like, get it now. So would you guys urge everybody to go do that? Like, is that pivotal in life?
Yeah, and then, well, your affirmations can be done like, what do you want? Like, state it in a present tense today. Like, that doesn't even take as much time as designing your life 5 or 10 years from now. That is a process you should spend time on. Spend time on it. Most people won't spend 5 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Spend real time thinking about where you want your life to be, or I promise you it'll end up somewhere and you'll say, this is what I thought I wanted. This isn't really what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like when I think about, like, I've got a lot of ambition. There's all kinds of stuff I want to do in 5-10 years. I got a 15-month-old right now. I promise you 5 years from now, I will give almost everything that I accomplished to spend more time with him today.
Yeah.
I know that that's going to be real because I spend time thinking about what I really, really want, you know, deeply. And I'm telling you, most people don't do that. Most people won't spend 5 minutes, much less 50, much less 2 hours, much less once a quarter, taking a day and really thinking about how they want their life. But I tell you what they will do. They'll spend all the time in the world planning a vacation. They'll spend all the time in the world planning a wedding.
Watching Netflix or
Watching Netflix.
Football game.
Football game.
Football game.
But not planning their life.
But I mean, playing off what you said, like I know that stuff like that, watching Netflix, TikTok gives you dopamine hits. But like when I sat down and wrote affirmations and drew out my plan, dude, it hit me hard. Like I probably hadn't felt anything like that on the inside in a long time. So like I urge you guys to go do it.
You did it right. You felt something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it wasn't
really
just
did.
logical statements. Like you felt something, and that's how you know you did it right.
You were painting a picture, and that's your job to
That
make
you
it
could
reality.
feel. I mean, think about this. Why when you pull into a car dealership, why do they get you to test drive the vehicle?
They want you to experience what it's going to be like.
They
to
want
own
you to
it.
experience it.
They want you to
They don't
smell
want
it.
you
They
to,
want you to
to
feel
smell
it.
it, feel the steering wheel, feel the acceleration, hear them turn the key over, hear the motor crank. Right? They want you to experience it and be immersed and feel yourself as if you own the car before you even talk about financial terms.
Case
Right.
study right here. The reason why I told you that was I am about 30 days away from hitting my 10-year plan that I made myself at 18. And everything panned out exactly how I painted that picture. My biggest regret is I didn't paint that picture big enough. My goal was 25 rentals at 25, and I hit that, but I took it a little step further, and I said at 28 years old, I need to be able to be retired. I need to have the house that I dream of, the social circle that I dream of, the finances that I dream of, the body that I dream of, the car that I dream of. At 18 years old, I was like, this is how I want my life. And here we are now. I got exactly what I was aiming for, and I think I could have doubled it if I would have just aimed a little bit higher. Now, I thought when I was 18, I was aiming high. Like, I was just like, 25 rentals. When I was 18, I was like, I don't have one rental. Okay.
See, if
How do we get 25?
I wish I would have had that at 18, but unfortunately it didn't. It took me a little bit longer for it to click. My goal was I wanted to make $100,000 a year doing what I love by the time I was 30. Whether it was working on the road, doing music tours, or whatever, that's what I wanted to do. And I got there, and I was like, this really isn't that great. And plus, I don't really own my time. I could go work in a city. I could take basically a pay cut and make $50,000 a year to go work for an agency in St. Louis or Atlanta or whatever, and work my way up back to $100,000 a year. And it'd probably take me another 5 years to do that, and live in a city I don't want to live in. And I realized what all the money got me then. I was like, well, I had everything I want. They paid for all my food, my travel, everything. I didn't have an apartment. So I literally was just a traveling vagabond, basically, that got paid to travel. And I got there and I was just like, you know what? This is not, the people that are ahead of me are not where I want to be in life. The $100,000 a year, while great, and its stability and insurance and all that jazz. And I was, getting to the point where I wasn't on the road as much as I used to be. But something inside of me is like, I've always wanted to own my own business. I wanted to own my own time. I wanted to not have any limitations to my life. I didn't want to have to ask somebody if I could take a day off or if I could take a vacation or go here or go there instead. I wanted to be the person that was making those decisions for myself. And that's always been there inside of me. I just thought that a monetary value number was going to, like, once I got there, I'd be good and I'd be comfortable, because $100,000 a year in Mississippi is a lot of money. And you can pretty much live, you can have whatever truck you want, whatever house you want for the most part that's comfortable. Like, you're fine. Like, you're living pretty good. I live very good for $100,000 a year in Mississippi, but you realize, like, okay, I can't keep doing this, and I need to find something different. I started looking at different options. I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts. I used to listen to the same streaming channels on Sirius, like, every day, all day, driving across the country. I canceled my Sirius subscription. I canceled my Netflix. All I did was listen to podcasts. I watched YouTube videos. I bought courses. I listened to books. I read books. That's all I did for I mean, I was driving for hours and hours and hours every day. So I just used every single opportunity I had. I was like, I would crush like 5 books on one trip, just going through it, right? Just all I did was consume information. Same, no different, right? Whenever you found ChatGPT, whenever I found that door of like, okay, I don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to get into real estate. I can make hundreds of thousands of dollars with very little to no money. No one's ever told me this stuff. I started making the money. Then I had to figure out what I needed to do with it. Then I started looking for people who were smarter than me, getting in rooms with them, networking, and slowly but surely I learned a lot. And I just kept constantly like, learn more. I'm not here to say I know everything about real estate because like we said, I don't know a lot about multifamily. I don't know a lot about a lot of things from real estate, but I do know how to structure a deal. And I know what a deal looks like. So if I can figure that out, then I can pretty much solve all the other problems when it comes to real estate or business or anything else. If I know how to structure a good deal, the money's always made when you buy.
Gold.
That is good stuff. I heard one thing that I want to touch on. You said when you're networking, before you started networking and getting in the rooms with the right people, you learned. Is that something you guys would say to the audience? They need to learn. They need to know their stuff before they go waste somebody's time.
Car University.
What is that?
Car University is when you take the radio in your car and you switch it over to a podcast or an audiobook.
And not a crime podcast or anything, like something that's actually going to teach you something.
I used to just try to go through one book a day. And you can do that, a little trick that I used, and it turned me into just an absolute just ADHD machine. You take the audiobook and you put it on 2x speed.
You're an anomaly, dude. Y'all see all the LEDs and all the weird stuff. He's got a sensory
I
problem.
have a sensory and a stimulation problem. But you put your audiobook on 2x speed, and now I figured I can listen to the same book in half the time. I can listen to it twice now. So when you listen to it once, I've already got it twice. I spent a year where it was like I need to listen to one Bigger Pockets podcast every day. I need to listen to at least one Grant Cardone video every day, one Ty Lopez video every day, and then at least 4 to 5 hours of audiobooks. And that's not on a 2x speed. So if I could do 2 hours worth of audio on 2x speed, that's 4 hours worth of content I just digested.
I'd buy a 2-week course and finish it in a weekend.
Yeah.
Like I'd just sit there all day for 8-9 hours, just going through the entire thing, taking notes, watching the videos, boom, 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 going through it. All right.
It's
Consume,
gold.
got it.
Somewhere in that book is $1 million. Every book you read, there's $1 million somewhere in it. You just got to find it.
Well, think about this. I mean, somebody did something typically their entire lifetime to be book worthy, right? So they typically had some type of background that made them have enough information inside to want to put it into a book. And let's say the average book is 150 pages. If you read 10 pages a day, that's it. And you could bookend your day. Read 5 in the morning, 5 at night. That's 10 pages a day. That means you'll read on average 1 book every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that means you're consuming somebody's life highlights and breakthroughs, the top points that they want to share of their entire lifetime in 2 weeks in your spare time. That's 2 books a month. That's 24 books a year. You can't do that for a year without not even recognizing the old you 12 months ago. Like your growth will be so self-evident that you don't even feel like the same human anymore. Like your inspiration, your information, your education, your confidence, your insights, your ability to see opportunities, everything just goes through the roof because you're not the same anymore. Because you're consuming information.
And the problem is you find too many opportunities.
That's true.
Well, Think and Grow Rich, I mean, he just said it's somebody's life packed into one book. Think and Grow Rich, he took his entire life and just interviewed rich people and condensed it into one book. There's books out there like that where you're getting 50 plus lifetimes condensed into one book.
And that book was an interview of 500 people. So it's what they had in common. The most successful people in the world, a lifetime study of the most successful people in the world, the 13 things they had in common. You think that would be a curriculum in school.
Think and Grow Rich. It's the Bible of business.
But, I mean, we get to use the Pythagorean theorem all the time that we learned in school, right?
I didn't know how to do
taxes.
taxes.
All the time. That was so important. It was so important to learn that.
You gotta know about those invisible numbers as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like negative square roots, because you're going to encounter that all throughout
use
life.
it all the time.
Yeah.
I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad is like the newer version of Think and Grow Rich, but if you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, it is like the Bible of business in my opinion.
You know what's funny about that though? I don't want to beat Debbie Downer, but it's a great book and it's helped a lot of people, and I think everyone should read it 100%. But there is a lot of controversy behind not only just Think and Grow Rich. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book that I read that really made the light switch for me. It's like, I need to move over to this side of the quadrant and we're good, right? I don't need to be self-employed. I don't need to be a employee. I need to be either a business owner or an investor, right? Both have come out to be like, okay, well, Napoleon Hill was kind of considered a grifter, didn't really interview a lot of the people that he said he did. Whatever the case may be, it's a fantastic book, and I think everyone should read it because there's a lot of things to learn. Whether or not he lied or not, I don't know. I wasn't there. But same with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The story was kind of, he didn't have a rich dad or a poor dad or anything like that. The story was kind of fabricated. It came out to be anyways, supposedly. So those two books are fantastic, and I do think everyone should read them. But if you get online, you find that, they're both fraudsters or whatever, don't pay any attention to it. Read it.
The principles are still real.
The principles are still very much real. They're fantastic books. And again, Rich Dad Poor Dad literally changed the trajectory of my life, 100%. Because I had some random guy at a mechanic shop that was doing our body work shop in Arizona that was like, man, you should read this book. He's like, because we were just talking and chatting, and we were talking about business, and like I always kind of any way I could talk about how I could get off the road and start my own business. That's one of the things he's like, you should read this book. You'll really get a kick out of it. So, all right, and I read it, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. This is what I've been doing wrong. This aligns with everything that I was taught, or not everything. This aligns with everything that I believe, not everything that I was taught, because I was taught, go to school, get a degree, work your way up the corporate ladder, save your money, invest wisely, retire at 65, right? What if I don't live to be 65? There's a very good chance that could happen.
Well, not only that, but if you're under 35 today, you're not going to see a Social Security paycheck.
No, God, no.
You're paying into a program that won't even be here.
Yeah. Then you start digging into figuring out, like, okay, well, how do I keep more of my money, and like how do I avoid paying a lot of taxes? And everyone wants to talk about, billionaires don't pay taxes. Well, those same loopholes exist for you. The problem is that they made them to the point where you got to have a really good team that understands how to structure all that. It's so confusing that no one can really figure it all out, except for the people that have the teams that do figure it out, right?
So Rich Dad Poor Dad was your aha book.
Yeah.
What was your aha book?
That was the second one for me. I mean, the first one was The Slight Edge, which is a book by Jeff Olson, which is basically, if you're familiar with the compound effect, which is Darren Hardy, the former publisher of Success Magazine, it's basically the same book. Same principles, but basically what it states is that it's the things that you do that seem insignificant every single day, daily, over long periods of time that will lead you to success or failure. And Jim Rohn taught the same thing. He said that success is daily disciplines every single day over a period of time with the right attitude. And what failure is it's poor decisions, right?
Or the lack of decisions.
Yeah, I mean, you eat a cheeseburger, today is not going to put you in a grave. Eat one every single day, 7 days a week for 20 years. And, it's not going to be good for your health, So it's not the thing you did today that matters, but yes, it is. It's what you do consistently, compounded over time that leads to the results that you want and the results that you don't want. So you analyze those daily decisions and realize that it's the small things that you do every single day compounded over time that will make a significant difference. You may say, oh, well, I'm these guys are investing in real estate and I don't have any money and, I'd like to one day, as you pull into Starbucks. And what you don't realize is that Starbucks isn't going to bankrupt you, but that $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 you spend on a drink every day times 5 days a week times throughout the year, you take that money and you save it, and all of a sudden, if you find one deal that you can invest in and double that money, you start to grow that, and then when you do have an opportunity, you can, make a significant return on investment. I started my investing account with $10. Mm-hmm. I would have done it years prior, but I always thought I didn't have any money, so it didn't matter. Until I learned that, dude, you start with what you have. And you tend to it, and you don't touch it. That is your opportunity account. That's not your savings account. That is your investment and opportunity account. Your goal is to make income to fund that thing. So when you find an opportunity, you have the money there to do something with it.
Golden.
That's interesting. Me and Mason were actually talking about that earlier today. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. So you said, for example, you go to Starbucks, right, and your penny pinch and you don't buy the drinks. You put in an investment account for an opportunity later on down the line. A lot of people have a differing opinion, and they just say make more money. What are your thoughts on
Do
that?
both.
Well,
Do both.
Yeah, like look, like right now, I mean, if you think you're going to outsave inflation, if things were tight a year or two ago, and then you think that you're just going to get a little tighter, you're going backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody listening to this should be focused on increasing their income 100%, and it's a mindset shift because you can. I mean, if you're going to just go mow your own grass, but yet you could have spent that time in a course. You're going backwards. Yeah, you're going to save some money mowing your own grass, but the time and energy, and not only that, but then you're paying for a lawnmower and then you're sharpening blades. You got to put gas in the darn thing. You got to change the oil. You've got to maintain it. You got to have a place to park it. Like you're spending so much more money and time and energy than just pay somebody else to cut the freaking grass, go through the course, get better, learn a skill, apply the skill, make more money. Then you can use the money to pay the landscaper.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, I think it's both. If you let being the example of going to Starbucks and not having any money, but saying, oh, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to spend this anyway, you're letting that be the reason that you're not progressing. So for that example, yeah, stop going to Starbucks. Make some coffee at home. Okay? Make some coffee at the house. Save that money, build an investment account while you're trying to focus on how am I going to increase my skill set? How am I going to provide more value to the world so I can create more income?
I've found over the years that lack of money is very rarely ever a real problem. It's the lack of creative thinking that's the problem. You talk about I don't have money for real estate. Well, that was the same argument that I had, right? Until I went and looked for the answers like, well, how do I acquire real estate without any money? Right? A simple Google search would take you probably to 20 different courses. I can't tell you how good they are, but something in that course will teach you something, right? Every course is not the same. Every mentor is not the same, whatever. But over every course that I take, if I can just get one nugget that will pay back, I feel like that's all I need, right? If I go to a seminar, if I just get 2 or 3 action items out of that and make some connections, that's all I need to justify the cost, right? Everybody, that's $1,000 to go to that seminar. Well, the connections alone and the educations that I'll get while I'm there. Now be very careful and do your due diligence on who you're actually paying your money to, because not everyone's out there to actually want to help you. They want to take your money. But those instances where you actually put money into it, you got skin in the game, right? I took my last $1,000 and I put it into a course, and I learned how to go and wholesale real estate. That wholesale and real estate course taught me like how to go find properties and how to get them under contract, and then how to go sell that property, sell that piece of paper and make $10, $15, $20, $30,000, right? Was that worth spending $1,000 on? Heck yeah, 100%, right? Just understanding that money does not necessarily it doesn't need to be your money. It can always be somebody else's money. If you've got an opportunity and it's a good enough opportunity, I promise you, finding money will not be your problem at all. Because if it's a good enough opportunity and you can figure out ways to split it with somebody else or take a piece of the pie and y'all work together, finding money will never be a problem if it's a good enough opportunity. So don't ever let money be your I don't have the money to do that. Don't ever let money stop you.
A problem I've ran into a lot over the past decade is people are very short-sighted, and there's a quote that stuck out for me for the past 10 years. It's 10% of a watermelon is better than a whole grape.
Yeah.
Especially in real estate. You could have 15 people in the deal.
Yeah.
And you're splitting profit 15 different ways. But if you weren't okay with that and you wanted it all to yourself, you have 0 now. You have 0 people in this deal. You got 0. Dope.
That's greed.
Congrats. I'll split it 100 different ways if it makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I'll split everything equally for what everyone is contributing.
I mean, it's better than 0. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a problem, somebody else has a solution. Why not? If you're moving ahead in life,
I can't tell you how many houses I've done where I didn't have the actual money to buy it. Like when I first got started, I was like everybody else. I made $100,000 a year. I spent it. Like I bought the nicest truck and I had the nicest condo in South Carolina, and we went on trips all the time whenever I wasn't working. I spent my money. So I didn't have a lot of money when I jumped in. That's the reason when I saw my buddy, he was like, I've done 2 of these. I made $20,000 over the last 3 months, each month. I was like, dude, you showed me a check for $20,000 on your last deal. Like, I'm quitting my job right now. I'm going to come learn how to do what you do. He showed me his bank account. I was like, no shit.
the line actually works.
Yeah. No shit. Like, really? Like, all right. And then I had a buddy in real estate who never told me about wholesaling. I called him up and I was like, man, you've ever heard of wholesaling? He's like, oh, yeah, I've done it a bunch of times. I was like, well, I knew y'all flipped houses and y'all had rentals and everything else. I just assumed y'all always had money. When I met him, he had a 6 Series Beamer or whatever. And his family had tax offices, H&R Blocks, and all kinds of stuff. And he's like, yeah, done it all the time. He's like, go read this book. And I went and read a book. And that was kind of his barrier of entry. Like, somebody wants to pick your brains. Like, hey, I want to learn how to do what you do. Read this book. Come back to me with questions. Right? Because I don't. The one thing I can't stand is somebody to waste my time.
Oh, yeah.
More than anything. I do not like my time to be wasted.
Man, I feel that one.
We talked about that. I was like, you waste my money, I'll get mad, but I'll be okay. You waste my time, I'm pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of us probably have about 10 plus people a day trying to take us out for lunches and stuff. And it's just, it's to the point now where
Which
I tell
I'm cool
people,
with, but yeah, you got to put in some effort. Like, I got the patience
like
of
that.
Job, and I mentioned this on our podcast. You remember this, Gage? It's like, I have the patience of Job with someone who's putting in an honest effort.
Yes.
Like, they don't have to explode and have this amazing zero to hero testimonial. I didn't have a zero to hero instant testimonial. Okay. So I'm glad people were patient with me, but I was putting forth effort, man, putting forth effort. And you can tell if someone's really trying to apply. And if they're applying, man, I love to help people.
I mean, what really got me into this space was how shocked I was when I started reading and getting around people who were doing some really big things. And like, I started realizing like how normal it was. And like, okay, if these guys can do this, I can do this. And like, how come we weren't taught these things? How come no one mentions this in school? Like, how no one talks about compound interest or finance or any of this stuff? So I was like, I felt at a point, I was like, okay, I've gotten pretty good at this. I was always a sharer. Every time I went to a RIA meeting or whatever, everyone would come up to me and ask me, like, how many deals did you get this month? What's your marketing channels? How much are you spending in this marketing? I was always an open book. I tell everybody because I knew 90% of the people there wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And the 10% that did would probably give up in the first month. There's only going to be like 1 or 2 guys. And I did. I probably cost myself a lot of money in PPC because I was the first guy in South Carolina and Columbia that was doing PPC for home buying.
By the way, that's pay per click. That's advertising if you didn't know what that was.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and I was telling everybody, and it took months before I started actually seeing an actual competitor. And then, eventually it was like 3 of us that we were all going toe-to-toe, but I was still getting mine. I was having to pay a little bit more for it, but it's fine.
Did you ever do any deals with those guys?
Yeah.
See, look at that. So you got to return anyway.
We have more buyers now, more sellers.
So, there's something to be said about that, too. I went to, believe it or not, a haunted house conference that was 5 days long. I've been to 2 of them because back in the day I was going to open up a commercial haunted house. It was one of my businesses I was going to start. Imagine that, another business. But while I was there, they did this marketing segment, and one of the best things that all of them did, and I gleaned so much from this, is they all would promote each other. And then you'd have these outliers or these arrogant owners of haunted houses that were like, oh, I'm not promoting somebody else's establishment. Like, this is mine. This is what I do in my market. Like, just completely defiant against, the competition. But what the smart ones realized was that people that would buy tickets to one would buy tickets to them all. Mm-hmm. So why didn't they just market for each other? And then the other thing, one thing that stuck out to me was I was at an event with James Malinchek, and he was taking questions from the audience, and one of the guys stands up with a microphone and he goes, James, it's $3,000 a ticket to be here. You've got 500 people here. How did you get them here? And he goes, I'll never forget what he said. He said, well, to answer your question, I don't have 500. There's 800 here. But to answer your question, I don't know one way to get 50 people, one way to get 500 people to an event, but I know 10 ways on how to get 50, and I do every single one of them. And I was like, noted. That helps me in every business to think that way.
Yeah, that's a totally different.
I don't know how to get 500 people, but I know 50 ways on how to get 10, and I do them all. And that's what he was the best at. He wasn't the best speaker trainer, like how to be a great speaker, but dude, you couldn't outmarket this guy. Like, you couldn't outwork him on filling rooms and filling audiences and literally marketing himself for speaking services. He just slammed throughout the year. And his repeat business was insane because he stayed in touch more than any other speaker out there. So kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier, when it comes to like networking or learning skills, which one do you do first? Both. Man, go around where people are at. It's one thing to want to meet with somebody and take their personal time if you haven't even done a Google search or a YouTube search. That's different. Like, get a little bit of education under your belt. But don't let that stop you from going to events where people are at. There are real estate investing events. There are business owner events. There are literally networking events where business owners are going to meet each other to solicit business. Like, they're everywhere. And then not only that, they're online. I mean, you can go meetup.com, you can go to Facebook events. There are online Zooms. So there are networking events that are social that are done globally, not just in where you live. So if you live somewhere that's rural, that's no excuse. There's still plenty of online events that you can go to. But get in the room for sure and start meeting people. And be honest. You don't have to be an expert there. In fact, my favorite room is the one I'm the least experienced in.
We really do say a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
Trend.
Justin's been hyping this up for the past week. Every day he's been these two guys, man. They're like identical. These two guys, I gotta get them in there. But yeah, guys, I got something special over here we need to get into. Is there anything else you want to touch on this, or do you want to flip it to the next episode?
If you could go back to yourself at 18 years, okay, no. I'm joking.
Yeah, giving you guys the floor. Anything else you want to touch on this?
No, I think I'm good.
Whatever you got.
Yeah.
All right, the next episode, you guys are going to want to see that. We're going to put the link below, and we've got something special here.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, subscribe so you can see it pop up on your YouTube recommended, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.